So you finished assembling your marble climber and you're ready to start your documentation. So let's take a look at that. On the first page, you're going to have a cover page here with a nice isometric view of our assembly. Page 2 is a parts list with an exploded view, and I'll come back to this in just a minute. And page 3 is a multi-view of our assembly with an isometric in the corner, kind of a standard multi-view layout. All right, the rest of the sheets or pages you do not have to do. Those are just there for you to make all the parts and pieces needed to create the assembly. And also remember to put all your sheets in one file, okay? Right click, new sheet, and you can add up to 3, as many sheets as you need, but in this case you would have 3 sheets in your browser. All right, let's look back at sheet 2. Both these things are kind of new to us. First of all, we have an exploded view, this is called. So we have to create a file where we actually pull these things all back apart. And I know we spent all that time putting them together, but we can kind of create this cool little animation with a certain file called a presentation file. And then once we have this in here, we can drop in our parts list. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start a new file. And we're looking for a standard IPN file. Don't worry about that, it's just a box I get on my laptop. And right away the file is asking for us to choose something to put into it so we can do some work. And we're looking for our marble climber file. And here it is. So it's kind of similar where we have our browser on the left and there's this snapshot window here that we're not going to use at the moment. There's a storyboard on the bottom, which means kind of a video or animation, and we'll get to that at the end of the file here. What we need to do is, again, remember, look back at your drawing file here. It'd be great if you throw this up on your other screen. And we're going to pull our object apart, and you're just going to visually look at the spacing of all the parts when we're recreating it in this file here. So with that, the tool we're going to use to do everything with is called a Tweak Components tool. So you get the little window that pops up. And the only thing we really have to do here is change where it says All Components. We're going to set to No Trails. Trails are like lines that get left as we drag things apart, and sometimes they're just busy and don't look very nice. So with that, we are going to, sorry, I'm just adjusting my other screen so I can look at the document and recreate what we need to. We're going to pull the base down, so this is a good practice part to start with. You're going to just click on the object you want to move. You see you get the triad that shows up. And I'm just going to pick the axis, even though the arrow is up, I can really slide it in both directions. So it's the z-axis here, y-axis, but to me it's up and down. Just grab that arrow and pull this part down a little bit, and right about there's the spacing I'm looking for. And we could hit apply and cancel the window and go right back into it, or you should be able to just double or click on the next component and move it as well. Looking at the drawing, we actually leave the 2 end pieces alone, and now everything else needs to move up. So while I'm holding the shift key, I'm just going to start clicking on all the other components on the screen. There it is. Sometimes you have to zoom in. The other thing you can do is you could always expand this over here. And there you can see all our files as well. Unfortunately that deselected for me, so I'm just going to click quickly back on everything. Then we can go down below and click here, here, marble, back cam, this cam, I accidentally clicked on this block, so I had to re-select it again. Clicking on it once selects it and adds it because I'm still holding shift. And then if you click on it a second time, it deselects it. Alright, so I let go of shift key. I think I got everything. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I have some space to pull this up. Grab the arrow, start moving up. Oh, look at that, I missed something. So what I do is this box is active. I just click or type 0 on the keyboard, puts everything back. Hold shift, click that last part. Let's go again. There we go. And I'm kind of taking note of this spacing right there. It looks pretty good. Holding shift, I'm deselecting. And again, zoom in. Makes it way easier. There. I just deselected all the cams. And I'm going to grab and go up again. About there. It looks great. Hold shift and deselect the pistons. And let's go up one more time. Looking for something probably right about in here. A little extra high, it seems like, but really why it is sorry. And this one's just the easiest to actually click the apply button and then go right back into tweak. Grab that part and drag it off to the side, and that's why we left a little bit of extra space, because we actually fill it back in with this side that goes right there. Grab the other ramp, drag it off that direction, the back wall this way, and our front one here. Yep. Oh, I missed one thing. The marble. Marble was supposed to be way back here. I can click on it now. Just drag that guy right back in there. That looks good. And apply. And there we go. That's an exploded view. And that, it shows us kind of how things relate spatially while pulled apart. But the other cool thing now is if you click down here on your storyboard, rewind the part. Look at that, back to assembly. Click play. And you get an animation of how your part kind of goes together and relates. I'm going to have one little mix up here because that marble, it'd have been better to drop him off with the cams in this scenario. So it looks like he's falling back down, but that's okay. In the end, as long as we get everything where we want it, that's what we're after. Okay, so click save and call it, just call it the marble climber because it's an IPN file. It can have the same name. It's technically a different file type, and you are good now. And start a new file. Right, you have a blank document, and do a base view, and here we go. Scale is, oh, my other screen's not showing it. There we go, 0.2, sorry, 0.2. Remember, you can move it around, get it to just fit in there. Looks good, except I want a little more to the side. So I got room for my balloons and my parts list, and we hit OK. It's not shaded, so I just double click it. Let's shade that, click OK. Awesome. Okay, so that's our exploded view. And we go to the Annotate tab, and right over here is our parts list. Click on that tool. It says, hey, can you select the view, please? I sure can. Go over here and click OK. And there's the list, and snap it in the upper left corner. And there we go. You have a parts list started. We have to do a little work on it, like a lot of things always, but at least it's started. If you want to edit the parts list, you double click it when it's red. Okay, and actually anywhere, I usually try to double click on any of the text. That takes me into this window. First thing we're going to do is get rid of description. So column chooser right there. Click on the column that we want to modify and then remove it. Click OK, and I'll hit OK again just to see that happen. Again, the text tends to work best for grabbing or double clicking, so I'm going to get a hold of it. It should snap right in the corner. And then what you need to do is double click it again, and you can modify any of the words in this list. And the main reason I need to modify mine is because I want them capital, because that's what we do in CAD. Base. enter. Oops, sorry, don't enter. Let's click OK. Okay, let's make sure we didn't get an extra space in there. Double click again. And here we're looking for sides of frame. We'll want to click line to line, top frame. And what happens is the parts list is bringing in all these parts using their file names. So if I would have did them all in capital letters right away, would have been great. But not really that big a deal to switch. Now the other issue you guys will have is because not only is it used my file name, but these are stacked in the order that I placed them to create the assembly. There's a pretty good chance that you are going to have a different order, and just switch them up as needed. You know, just make your parts list look exactly like mine, and that's what we're after. We hit OK. You can see the ones I've modified. And that's no big deal. The only other thing you have to do is when we put on our balloons, there's the balloon tool. Right down here's number 1. The first click represents where the arrow starts. The second click is our elbow or continue spot. Right click continue, and I just leave it. There's our 1. Now if yours is 1, that's great. And this one, I would say most of you should have the same. But when you get to the next one, you know, it could be here right away where you're different. And try to place your balloons where mine are as well. Again, you're always trying to copy me. If this is not the same, I escape to cancel the tool. You can double click these, and again, that pops up with a little window, and we can make this say whatever we need it to match the parts list. So in this scenario, maybe it did come in as 4, double click it, make it 2, and click OK. Alright, so it's pretty easy to make everything match. And that's your parts list and exploded view.